Welcome to Saturday versus Sunday. I'm Jeff Dover. With me is John Barbin. Let's talk football.
All right, we're down to one more game. College
National
football
championship.
National championship. So Dover's got the Buckeyes shirt on. I got the Irish here. I like this one. I think
That's
a
a great shirt.
Might need the ND at some point too. That's kind of cool.
Mm.
But we've made some changes to the studio. This is a special episode. So as you can see, Brutus, is it Brutus right here?
Yep.
Next to the Buckeye helmet. And I tried to put the teams that were in the playoffs here. And then over here, I don't know what you call that guy, the leprechaun, but we've got the leprechaun there next to the Notre Dame helmet. And, obviously playoff teams up there. And here we go. This is it. This is the last one. So
got it. I always get a little It's always melancholy for me a little bit because it's after one more game. One more game, and then that's it for college football for a long time. So it's really, really just try to have to absorb. That's why I just hope so much that it's a good game, because it's once it's done, it really lands with a thud that college football's over. I know.
So Dina, I've introduced her to college football because she's just mostly a 49ers fan.
Mm-hmm.
But in the last couple of years, she's really gotten into football just overall, like watching multiple games other than just her 49ers. And she's adopted the Lions as her other favorite team after watching Hard Knocks, and she just loves Dan Campbell. Anyways, last year was her first year really feeling the offseason.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, this sucks." And I'm like, "Yeah, welcome to being a football fan." Like the minute football's over, it's just a lull. And everyone watching knows what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing shows throughout the off season, hopefully just to kind of hang on to the fun of football, and we'll just talk about whatever. Obviously we got
some good topics, I think, to talk about that are,
we're going to do some of the typical stuff where coaching moves, player moves, definitely any of the weird conference stuff that keeps happening in college.
NIL transfer
and all that stuff. Actually, Joel Klatt did a really cool episode on how to quote fix college football. So we'll talk about all that stuff. Anyways, but we're down to the last one. So we got to savor this one. I really hope this is a good one.
Yeah, me too.
So where do we start here? Okay. So right now I see 45.5 is the point total.
Yep.
And OSU by 8.
Yep.
Has that changed? Did it open bigger than that?
It opened bigger. Yeah. It has been 9.5, I think, for at least the line. Yep.
Right. Okay. So the key things here is now there's some talk of injuries. Yep. So it's now, okay. So I was thinking about this. Everybody's got injuries at this point. Now the college season keeps obviously getting longer for the teams who make it this far. What is this game number 16 now? So this is starting to get like an NFL length type of thing here, right?
Yeah.
So now not all the way through Super Bowl. That's, even 4 or 5 more games than this even. But anyways, we can't really imagine anymore that a college roster is going to be what it was in September now.
Yeah.
It's just not possible.
Yeah.
And there's just the rate of injury is so high. I think it would be an anomaly to have the starters from September now and expect them all to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about injuries, we're actually only talking about the recent ones of guys who have been playing. Because I know that Notre Dame has some studs who were out in September.
Yes.
One of their best DBs never really played, and some really good players just aren't there. So I get that. And for both teams, and Ohio State's been rotating through offensive linemen all year.
Yep.
So when we talk about injuries, we're not talking about, if we go all the way back to August, that's the real team. No, it isn't. It's whatever you got now.
Yes.
Because now it's always been attrition. It's always been depth, but even more so now in college because these seasons just keep getting longer.
No, and that's a really good point. Like when you lost someone in August or September, that means the other guy has been playing for 10 games now. So rather that, I don't know if you consider him a backup now. He's the starter. He's played more games than the other person. So they're in that now. So you're right that the injuries of consequence are the ones that have happened lately that you've game scripted around on offense or defense, having that personnel in, and now you have to make a change to something. So but it doesn't seem like there's anyone really fits into that part.
Well, there's a big one on Notre Dame. The tackle, he's out. Knapp is out. They have another lineman who is questionable, or at least might not be full speed. Love, I think we just know he's not full speed.
Not 100%, but he'll be playing.
He'll still have the brace on, so he's not 100%, but he'll still be playing.
Yeah.
And I think they still have one other person. I was just watching Josh Pate talking about some of the potential injuries. So they're a little banged up here with what they can put out on offense. It's kind of a bummer because it seems to be all on offense.
Mm-hmm.
All the players that are banged up for Notre Dame. And then the Ohio State JTT, I don't think he's 100%. Tuamalu, I think he got a little nicked up there, and
Yep.
it's an ankle issue.
Yep.
So he'll be playing, but we don't really know if that's full speed for him. So that's not going to
Still
be
effective when not full speed.
Yeah,
That
he's
guy.
effective when he's not full speed. That was the big one. I don't know if there's too many other really obvious ones on Ohio State, and Buckeye fans like jump in here with ones that we're missing. But that's the one that sticks out in my head. Now, obviously, or not obviously, but in that game, the last game, Will Howard took a shot on the hand. Remember, he had a huge lump on his hand. Now, I'm assuming he played through it, so it didn't matter. I don't know if that's going to have any effect here, but boy, did that ever look bad. So I don't know if that could possibly have an effect, but that's the only other thing I thought of. Now, if there's other major ones, I'm not aware of them, but those are the ones that stick out to me.
No, I think you covered them well. You're right about the bruise um, on the hand, like that would have been a concern, but I think it's over a week. So there's a lot of healing that can happen in that time. And
Yeah.
so I think that they're, going from a Friday to then like not the next Monday, but the Monday after that, like that's a fair bit of time. So I feel pretty good about the hand being not a major issue.
All right. So you want to do the A game thing?
Sure.
So if both teams show up with their A game, who wins?
Yeah. I think if Ohio State has A game offense and A game defense, I think they win. So here's my problem going into it, right? I've bet against Notre Dame for almost every game now. Like I just didn't think they were going to beat Penn State. I know. I didn't think they were going to beat Penn State. I didn't think they were going to beat Georgia.
Yep.
It's been killing me. I thought Indiana would have a good chance against them. So, but all they do is keep winning. So, and they've really, embraced who they are. They've got an amazing defense.
Yep.
It's just enough on offense. They need to establish the run game with the running back, but also Riley Leonard is going to be active in the run game, and then throw just enough to keep the defense honest, really is what it is. And so, but Ohio State's A game is unbelievable, both offense and defense, right? Like that's the strip sack for touchdowns and interceptions and breakaway plays and Smith and Henderson, so it's just really tough. So it's just a matter of if Notre Dame can force Ohio State to play Notre Dame's game, which they've successfully done now against three playoff teams.
Right. So that's the thing. I think if Ohio State's A game shows up on both sides, it's just a bit too much on offense.
Yep.
But I guess if Notre Dame's A game shows up on both sides, they seem to be effective at dragging people into a rock fight that they're pretty happy playing.
Yes.
And Notre Dame. Oh, I don't think the Buckeyes would prefer to play a rock fight if they didn't have to.
No.
The one against Penn State was pretty sweaty. Now they won, but I don't think they wanted that game to go that way. The game against Michigan was a brutal rock fight, and it did not go their way.
No,
I bet you Notre Dame would love to drag them into one of those type of games.
Oh yeah.
Now the question about how good Jeremiah, or how close to 100% Jeremiah Love is, that's gonna. God, I wish we just knew he was full speed. Like I want to see full speed against full speed here. Either way, he's gonna give it his all. Like that touchdown run he had was one of the gutsiest, best runs all season. All season.
He had three defenders on him at the 2-yard line, and I was like, oh, they stopped him, and he had no business scoring a touchdown there, and he willed it, like you said. That was an amazing effort.
So I'm pretty sure we're gonna see that again. That effort, anyways, out of him for sure.
Yeah.
So has the Buckeyes played against a quarterback like Riley Leonard who can run the way he runs? Like not quite like that. I mean, there's not a lot of Riley Leonards around.
I thought in terms of quarterback was Howard is prone to the interception, and Notre Dame has been really good at intercepting QBs. So I feel like that might be a matchup that especially if Notre Dame's able to control the Judkins and Henderson
Yeah.
and forcing Ohio State to pass, they could get an interception.
So I had a thought here. Is there an obvious coaching advantage on either side here?
Oh, great question. No, I don't think so. I think that, I mean, we've gone back and forth on this a few times. Like, I think that Day is getting too much heat for the Michigan loss. Like, their
Yeah.
team has been really good with everything else, like 60-10 or whatever, like,
Yeah.
so he's been really good. They've recruited really well. I'm not going to say it's the most expensive roster you can buy because we got a lot of comments
No,
back saying
apparently
that
it's the third.
it's the third,
Yeah.
so it's a top 5 roster you
There
can
you
buy.
go.
So, and that's not nothing. Like that other team,
No.
every team would like to
Yeah.
have a top roster, and
Sure.
it's their. But so the personnel's been amazing, and the way they rebounded after the Michigan loss, I think, really says a lot about the coaching there. But it was the same thing with Freeman. All the Notre Dame games I've watched, everyone's in the right position. Like there's never really a really bad blown assignment or something,
Yeah.
or someone's like running amok in the backfield. Like they're really well coached.
Well coached.
The defense is really strong. I think it plays better more than the sum of its parts, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And again, that was a really rough loss against Northern Illinois. A lot of people thought that they might have blown their playoff chances then, but how they've rebounded and how they've really accepted this identity now of who they are, I think really speaks a lot to the coaches as well. So I think both coaches are pretty even.
All right. So there is maybe a blueprint for how to take away Smith.
Yep. So again, thanks to the comments for people pointing it out that people felt strongly that he was double teamed, triple teamed a lot, around there, which is why passes were going to Ibuka as much as they were, or the tight end and everything. So,
yeah,
but it's,
we had another commenter. We appreciate a subscriber to point out there was somebody who did a full breakdown. I still haven't had a chance to look at it. We'll look at it later this week as to how they actually took away Smith. And
yeah, because on TV you don't see it that much, right?
No, and unless you do the all 22 and then you have somebody who really knows how to analyze it really point it out.
Yeah. The point we were trying to make is that he had 1 catch for 3 yards, and I never saw him during the game. So
but they had to do something. It wasn't him doing something wrong. They actually took him away.
Right, exactly. So like that was he had 178 yards a game before. He was unstoppable for the 2 games before.
You know what it reminds me of is that game that they managed to take him away, but they still lost. Do you ever hear that story, that coach who was coaching against Steph Curry when he was at Davidson and was just unstoppable at Davidson? Yeah. And the opposing team's coach was like, he will not beat us tonight. And he ran I can't remember what it was, but I think he double teamed them at all times.
Yeah.
And it took Curry and his coach about 4 or 5 series or plays to realize, I can't run the offense from the point. So he shifted how he ran the offense, and he started running it from the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And Curry didn't get a point. I think he had like 30 assists and they won by 25 points. Yeah. And the coach was like, he didn't score, but we got crushed. Yeah. But he adjusted. So I know it's not a direct analogy, but man, if you can take away the best player, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean you're going to win. Like Ohio State found a way to. Everyone else kind of went off. Yep. So now Texas it wasn't a blowout or anything. It was a close game.
Yeah.
But if you can take away him of all people, there's still a lot to do there. I think Notre Dame has the personnel to take anybody away, at least one of them if they want to. It's just, can they contain all of it? But they've got one of the best defenses in the country. So if somebody can, but so does the Ohio State. Their defense is awesome.
Really dynamic.
I think this is going to be a huge in the trenches game.
Yeah, this is a big game script thing for me because Notre Dame absolutely cannot come back from behind like a couple of touchdowns, like because they're just not built that way. Do you know what I mean? So, and they can't win like a shootout. So as long as it's low scoring and they can hold the ball in offense and stuff, which they've done against 3 really good teams in a row, right? So if they can do that, then they've got a shot. And Ohio State, we're really talking ourselves into Notre Dame here, like because we're really trying to come up with like the ways that, because it feels like Ohio State is overmatched over Notre Dame, like they're should be favored by a lot, than which
they are.
Yeah, so it's Yeah, just it's Notre Dame has done that 3 games in a row, and I just don't know if I can bet against them again. I guess that's more my
So we
comfort
have
level.
had some Buckeye fans point out, and please share here in the comments section, let us know that they think Ryan Day got a little bit over his skis or a little bit into his ego again in the Texas game and
Mm,
might have messed up the play calling in that game instead of just letting it go the way what's best for winning versus what's kind of stroking his ego a little bit. Almost back to what happened in the Michigan game, if
mm,
that was true, and it was him trying to prove he could tough it out in the trenches against Michigan and ended up losing the game. We've
mhm,
had a few people comment that he's got to cool it with that stuff, and it looked like that kind of came back up in the Texas game. So on
mhm,
our review of that game, the Texas Ohio State game, we had a few people point that out. So maybe from a coaching standpoint, maybe Buckeye fans, do you have any fear that Ryan Day somehow will get in his own way here and
mm,
not let the offense just do what it's capable of versus do what he feels like he wants it to do? I
mhm,
don't know. That to me is, I can't see anybody making a mistake as from a coaching standpoint of like X's and O's as much as maybe only this, like being stubborn.
mhm.
So, and I don't know if Freeman's got that in him but I know some Buckeye fans think Day has some of that in him.
Yeah.
So that could be potentially that could be a thing, but I don't know. I guess if no ego gets in the way and it's
Mhm.
just clean and no team makes some egregious mistakes, I'm assuming Ohio State just has a bit too much on offense. But
Yeah.
again, like every time we bet against Notre Dame, it doesn't work.
No.
So it could be. What I hope is there's been plays held back on both sides that we see something different because this is it. We're at the very end of the season. Like, is there something we haven't seen from either team yet?
Yeah. Yeah, and, so the line open is the -9.5 for Ohio
Mm,
State. It's now down to 8,
right,
and the over under the total was 46.5. It's down to 45.5.
right.
So,
What do you want?
if you had to pick something, what would you go with here?
Notre Dame
Yeah.
+8.
I feel pretty good about that, and I also feel I was leaning toward the over too. I can't bet on Ohio State in an under, like, just because they can go off for 28 points in like a second, and so I would
Mm-hmm.
just shoot myself if I wouldn't shoot myself. I'd be so mad at myself if they not shoot myself over any college football game,
No.
but I'd be so mad at myself betting on the under, like, because I think both defenses are good. So, like, but
Yeah.
I'd be so mad at myself betting on the under. Then Ohio State can absolutely score in a flash, and it's
But
like,
if okay, I'll do my goldfish recency bias.
yeah,
It's not like they ran away with the Texas game.
you're right.
If Jack Sawyer didn't get that fumble 6, Texas had a shot at tying that game.
Is Notre Dame's defense just as good as Texas's?
I mean, it looks like it.
Yeah, right.
It really does look like it.
Okay.
It's I don't I mean, I don't want to get into who's star ranked and whatever and who's projected in the NFL. If you just watch how they're playing, Notre Dame's defense is tough as
Mhm,
nails. Like
mhm,
it's been doing it all this way. So, and it's I think they know that they don't have a completely explosive offense. Every couple of games there's a few games in the regular season where
yeah,
it did explode, but in general, that's not what you would characterize Notre Dame as this going to go up and down the field offense, but you would characterize them as a as like a glass eating defense. Like that's a
yes,
tough defense. So I think I know there's so much talk about the Ohio State offense, but that last game, it wasn't an offensive thing. That was a
mhm,
defensive thing both ways. The
yeah,
defenses dominated that game. And then both offenses got in their own way
mhm.
and a bunch of penalties. I mean, how about the penalty thing? Ohio State can't do
Oh,
another 9 penalty game. They kind of
no,
got away with it last time.
yeah.
So
No,
they got
that's
to
a
play clean too, right? It's
yeah,
not
no,
like they can get away with being sloppy.
listen, there's a lot of that's why I think it's okay, so I think the official pick should be the Notre Dame plus the 8. I think we should just stick with that one.
Oh, yeah, we're doing that.
Yeah, and I think that it's there's more, like, so even though Ohio State's favored by 8, there's so many ways I can see Notre Dame staying in or winning this game.
Yeah.
Howard can absolutely throw more than one interception.
Yeah.
Ohio State can absolutely get in their own way, Ryan Day or play calling or whatever it
There's
is,
two ways they can get in their own way.
start messing around, whatever. And so it's or it becomes a rock fight and then Notre Dame just gets a late score, which they've absolutely done without
Right.
stopping Riley Leonard. So there's a few ways to draw it up where Notre Dame stays in this and or wins it. So it's I also wouldn't be surprised if Ohio State wins like 40-7. Like I could see that
Really?
too. Yes, I
No.
could see it. Just like the beginning of the Oregon game. I can absolutely see something like that where it just happens to be like one missed tackle, a couple like one like
Irish fans, that was Dover that just said that. I didn't say that.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's
So when we do that, can you see a blowout either way? You can see a blowout, Ohio State blowing them up, but you
I
can't really see
could.
Notre Dame blowing them
No,
up.
not really, but it's because I haven't seen Notre Dame blow out a really high quality team. Like they blew out Army, but
but Army just
not
doesn't have this kind of personnel.
right. So it's but Oregon or the Ohio State killed Oregon. You know what I mean? And then and they were a good team. They were undefeated. So
Yeah, no, I
it's
understand. I understand.
but I don't know. Yeah. So but I think it'll be closer. I don't think it'll be a blowout, and so therefore I'll take the 8 points.
Yeah, me too. And we're going to stay away from the over under because I'm not really sure what could happen there. Because I would if I'm tempted to take the under.
You're leaning toward the under, yeah.
Yeah, again, I'll do my recency bias. Yeah. Again, if it wasn't for Jack Sawyer's turnover, that's more like how this would look.
That game was what was that? That was 21-14 with Texas on like the first and goal, right? So like to tie it to 21. So it which would have really spiked the over too.
So you're talking about Ohio State's offense scored 21 points there.
Yeah.
Which is, we know it's a powerful offense, but that's not a lot of points.
No.
And I'm sure I think the Notre Dame defense can keep them somewhere around there, or at least has the personnel to do that.
Yep.
Like a funky turnover notwandstanding. That's
I think
they're capable of doing that.
Yes, they are absolutely capable of doing that. That's what I think is going to happen. But like, I'd be so mad at myself if Ohio State all of a sudden had a 21-point explosion and this is like, you know what I mean? Like,
do you think Notre Dame can keep this middle 8 minutes?
That's a great question.
Taking the momentum and not giving it back again.
Yeah,
they just did it to both Georgia and Penn State.
Yes, no, I think that is right out of the game script for Notre Dame winning. That's exactly it. Because at the beginning of the game, it's a lot of they look great once they settle in. You know what I mean? So you just got to weather that like explosive Ohio State stuff at the beginning, and then absolutely the middle 8 thing I think is going to be critical.
Yeah. So maybe that's sort of has to look a little bit like that, both.
Yeah.
Like maybe for this game for Notre Dame to win. Now with that said, it's not like they ran away with the game against Penn State. They sort of did. That middle 8 sort of did put Georgia away. Like they just really couldn't recover from it. So, I just hope it's a good game. I hope.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to watching it. I hope it's not. I hope the penalties don't, grind it down to a glacial pace. But it's as long as that doesn't happen, if there might be some turnovers, might be some quick interceptions or something. Like I'll be fine with that.
My tendency is to think this is. I think I've been seeing this a lot lately, but my tendency is to think the defensive lines will dictate how this game really turns out. Like it's going to be how both offensive lines, quarterbacks respond to whatever kind of pressure the fronts are going to give the other team, because the fronts seem to be the highlight of both teams here. Like I know there's all this talk about Ohio State's offense.
If Notre Dame can establish the run, and Ohio State's going to want to see what Notre Dame's doing on defense, and then not get in their own way, or just call the plays that are working, or whatever that is. If it's just handing it off to Henderson, or if it's the short intermediate pass game, or if it's a Buka across the, like figure out what they're letting, if they triple Smith, then you go to someone else, like figure out what they're doing and then do the other thing. And if they're able to do that quickly, then this could get out of hand fast. So, yeah.
All right. Again, Irish fans, Jeff just said that. I didn't say that.
I didn't think that was that bad of a comment.
No.
I didn't think that. I made a comment earlier this season about about a positive comment about a team doing really well with backups in there, and I said they played with someone that came out of the parking lot or something, and I got roasted for that one
You got
too. So
roasted for that one too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I thought that
Yeah.
was a positive thing to say. But
Either way,
I'll find out if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it'll be. I really hope this is a good game, and we're gonna have to savor. We're gonna have to savor whatever it is because this is the last one of the season, and I just hate that it's already over. It seems to go by way too fast. I say that every year, and every year it's upsetting when we get to this
excited
point.
in August. I get so excited in August when it's coming up.
I know. Okay, so should we even tell people, like, part of this podcast, if you're still even watching, is it's so I get so emotionally tied up watching football. This podcast is a way to deal with those emotions. It really is. It really is. Like, because me and Jeff would have this, we would just get on the phone and have this exact conversation anyways. So we're doing this, and hopefully if you're watching and listening, you're having some fun with it. And that's partly why we do this, is just this is like therapy.
It's the fan take on what happened and what's been going well. And it's the, and when what you noticed and what it felt like watching it and what it, it feels like they can't stop the run. It feels like that Smith was invisible. Right.
Yeah.
And it's because that's what it's like when it's going on.
Yeah, and we don't, and I know there's all kinds of people who can really break it down technically. So I watch Josh Page, Joel Klatt, I read some other articles, and JT O'Sullivan, and all the people who can really break it down. But that's not what we do here. We're here to more relive and relish the moment of what the game felt like. And yeah, we'll give a little bit of what we think might happen and this sort of stuff. But this isn't meant to be a hardcore breakdown. Also, at some point, the really hardcore analysis, I get a little bit like, I don't want to see the Matrix. I want to see the girl in the red dress. So I don't want to see the code. So, and I get it. Like, we can break it down and break it down and break it down. And every team, the fans of any team can break down why they should have never lost that game. Well, because if this happened and this player wasn't there, then we would have won. And that's kind of no fun. So I don't need somebody to break it down so far that I lose sight of just what it felt like to watch it. And that's why we watch.
Well, it's just hard for football too, because there's like, how many times is like someone in the right place but didn't make the play, or someone, like, it's not, there's only so much the X's and O's can do after a while. At the end of the day, it's like, either score or you don't. And,
and someone left a comment that said, that was kind of quoting us, saying, when we said with Notre Dame and Georgia, well, if it wasn't for the fumble, the short field, and the touchdown, and then the kickoff return, and then like, well, but it happened.
Yeah.
And you're right. Whoever said that, you're totally right. But that did happen. And you can't basically, no coach really thinks, okay, so we're going to get a turnover on the 5-yard line, and then we're going to get open. But that happens so often that, and it changes the game.
Part of the game. Absolutely.
And when teams are close, those sort of things turn the game. That's why we watch. Otherwise, it would just be the scripted thing. Their run game technically should go this far, whatever. So it's funny when as we were just talking about this, I thought, oh yeah, like we did just say something like that.
That's part of the fan experience, right?
Yes.
When you're watching your team, when I'm watching my team and they're doing great, they're dominating on offense, dominating on defense, and then there's a stupid turnover for the other team, and then you continue to dominate on offense, dominate on defense, and all of a sudden you look up and it's halftime and you're up 14-7. And you've given up nothing and you've dominated the whole thing, but because of that one turnover, all of a sudden this is a 1-possession game at halftime, and that's frustrating. That's what that's about as a fan, because you're like, we should be killing these guys.
It's always the classic. We should have
so like that. So like you're right. It's that that without the turnover, without this, but that's because that's what it felt like watching it. Like the one team was way better than the other team, or like, was way closer than the score indicated because of those weird plays. So just like the Texas, you brought that up now. The Texas, that was a really good point. Well, the Texas Ohio State, right, it was a 28-14 win for Ohio State, but it was 21. It was 21-14 with Texas at the first and goal and like the one. And so that easily could have been 21-21 right there, minus the strip sack and amazing run back from Sawyer. So like that, but it happened.
You know what's funny about that?
True, but like that would have been 21-21 going to overtime potentially, and that now all of a sudden this wouldn't be an 8-point spread against Notre Dame.
Right. Yep. All the knock-on effects. Anyways, well, we're just really hoping for a good game. And I mentioned this in the comments to somebody, but Anybody, if you're a fan of a particular team, please give us insights and intel in the comments section, or DM me on Instagram.
We're
if you
always
even
fan
use
about
that.
insiders. Insiders can always give their inside
Yep.
fan take from whatever team we're talking about.
Yeah, we already have a hardcore Georgia insider. I've got a New York Giants insider and a Buffalo Bills insider on the NFL side. But anybody who wants to get your information over to us, and it'll help inform us on our podcast, we'd love to hear from you.
I love our Georgia guy. I love how nervous he gets when they're like heavily favored in games.
You can't even look at the screen.
It's awesome.
So,
he's
anyways, I'm All right, so let's hope this is a good game, and come back we'd appreciate if you come back to the channel and check out
stuff going on in the off season,
our post game breakdown and just reaction to the game afterwards. All right, we'll catch you later.